Thank you, Your Honor. You all have before you a memorandum that was mailed out this afternoon regarding Sojourners Alliance, the status of their facility. Steve Bonner is here, the Executive Director of Sojourners Alliance, and as you recall, last summer, Sojourners was forced to shut down because of the loss of a federal grant that was critical to their continuing in operation. At that time, Mr. Bonner came before the committees and the council to request financial assistance in order to continue services. At that time, the council, Mr. Bonner put forth a budget of about $125,000 that he felt he needed in order to continue operations. The council at that time, in the fiscal year 2016 budget year, committed $12,500 of non-prioritized projects funding in the legislative budget to assist in that effort. The challenge to Mr. Bonner was upon proof that he had secured the additional $112,500 that he needed to stay open. The council would then authorize disbursement of the $12,500 from legislative reserve. The memo that you got this afternoon and an accounting of those other sources of funding, as well as a letter from Steve, came through. He's here tonight to request a chance to speak to you again. I would note as a budgetary matter that the council approved that $12,500 out of the fiscal year 2016 budget. It was not accessed during the fiscal year 2016, so there was $25,000 also in the 2017 legislative budget, and should the council approve that tonight, that is where that funding would come from, leaving an active balance of $12,500 remaining in that budget for the balance of the fiscal year. So with that, with your permission, I'll invite Mr. Bonner forward.
Okay, great. Before Steve gets talking here, he's a modest guy, and I want to brag a little bit on him, because he'll never say this, but I'm going to. This doesn't really have what he's doing here tonight and requesting, but I had the honor of being at the Martin Luther King breakfast, and Councilor Bonzo was there as well, and you were there too, Art, as well. Councilor Becky, and the point that I want to make here is that Steve was a recipient of this year's award for the Martin Luther King Award, and I'd like everybody here to give him a round of applause for that. And the reason Steve won that award is because of his years and years of hard efforts and work, and I don't know how this man has been able to do that, but anyway, it was pretty neat. I got a chance to sit right behind him when this came up, and I was pretty proud. And with that, Steve, I'll let you go on. I just wanted to share that with everybody.
Thank you. You know, if you'd taken bets back in June when I came before you, whether I'd be back here to ask for the funds you committed to us, I would have bet against that. There's been a lot of coverage, of course, but I really want to thank you all, Mayor and City Council members, for your belief in our organization and our community. Our community really stepped up. They really, by their voice through the donations, really made real clear the perception of our place in our community. And it certainly has been a roller coaster. There's times where HUD's rules were being flung at me, and there was times it didn't look like we were going to make it. In fact, I had a flag pop up 2 weeks ago informing me that the method I was going to take folks in, I would be facing fair housing discrimination. And so I had to work around that, where we're not taking anybody directly from jails and prisons as I thought I was allowed to. So anybody that is coming out of an institution will have to be literally homeless for at least one day in order for us to take them. With Walter, you had made a statement back then about, a question about would I get the apartment fixed that was damaged. This is a wonderful story. This epitomizes everything. A person in our community calls up and says, I just sent you $25,000. It's like, And he goes, now, don't you have a damaged apartment? I said, yeah, tell me a little bit about it. So I did. He goes, well, don't you have a water line that's damaged too? And I said, well, yeah, and how much would it take to fix? Well, why don't you keep that $25,000 for repairs, and I'll send you another $25,000 to help you along. It's like $50,000 just like that. And then our major fundraising event in December, the Avenues for Hope, we nearly doubled the amount we took in from the previous year. We went from 20,000 to almost 40,000. So all said and done, even after I've met with Jen to give the updates, we've received Gripman committed to 5,000 a year to us. Had another anonymous donation of 5,000, so the money's still pouring in. So all said and done, in the month of December, we raised 121,000 PayPal, so about 130,000 in December, and since then we've still had another about 20,000 come in. So I've been asked, do we have the commitments, obligations to go forward in longevity, and my answer is yes, we do. And so I'm here to say we're back on track. We actually have 5 people on site right now, and the story in the Lewiston Tribune, I don't know if you read it, but the day, Monday, of the 30th, a fellow comes in and asks if we can put him up for a night. I said, we don't do that. Where are you headed to? Spokane. Well, what's in Spokane? Union Gospel Mission. What's your plans there? I want to go for 90 days. Well, I said, I've got an opening here. And the person had taken 2 days to hitchhike from Kamei and was trying to get to Spokane for a program. So we were able to take that person in the very next day. And so our services are back up and running. I have a new case manager that is just top notch. And let's see, I've been meeting with lots of folks lately, but it's going real well. And again, I really thank your support. I thank the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission and our support and all the staff, et cetera. So it is a miracle to be here. And I was an immigrant when I came to Moscow in '74. I came from San Francisco. So any questions for me?
Council, have questions for Steve?
Just a congratulatory note, Steve, the work that you've done, that Bill already spoke about, and then the fact that the people of the community have stepped up. I think that's in large part to the work you've done and to the type of community that we have here. So congratulations to you.
Well, thank you.
Steve, after the damaged apartment that you were talking about, that's the one that was done with the pet?
Yes, yes.
Are you still allowing pets?
If they're prescribed, I have to, actually. And we have things in place. With tenants, the rights are a little bit different, where I intend after this learning process to give monthly notices for inspection to ensure that it doesn't happen again.
Doesn't get out of hand?
Correct, yes. That's the best I can do on that matter. So
Well,
$22,000 is what it costs to repair it.
And you are absolutely right, too, Steve. There is certain criteria that falls with service animals for everybody, businesses and so on and so forth. Gina?
Do we need a motion?
Yes.
Okay, Your Honor, I would like to move that we release the $12,500 to Sojourners Alliance. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. Anybody else want to, Walter?
Question for Gary, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Gary, you commented that the 12.5 was originally allocated out of the 2016 budget.
Yes.
Is there not a way for us to reach back and use that money and leave the 2017 legislative budget intact at 25,000?
No, sir, there's not.
It was arbitrary. Let me finish. It was arbitrarily or customarily moved to capital projects when the legislative reserve wasn't used last year?
Any funds that are unanticipated fund balance carryover are allocated to the capital funds, yes. Council could direct that I move that back out of the capital funds. Of course, you can do that in this year's budget if you like. It's really up to you.
I'd like to make an amended motion, Mr. Mayor, that we do approve the 12.5 to Sojourners Alliance and direct staff to move the 12.5 back from 2017 to 2016, whatever accounting is required in order to
Well, you can't move it back to 2016. You have to move it within.
move it out of capital projects into legislative reserve, thus making legislative reserve 37.5.
I would
Before-
prefer
before
that,
the
you,
transfer.
if I may, I would prefer, since it's a budgetary item and an accounting item, that you make that known to the mayor, and the mayor can make that happen.
Then I would amend, if I may restate my motion, that I amend the motion to remit the money, $12,500 to Sojourners, and in addition, direct the mayor to move the money back out of capital projects into legislative reserve.
Second again.
Okay. John?
A question, is that are we requesting the mayor does that, or are we directing the mayor? I heard two
I
different
caught on the
things.
verb too a little bit.
My motion was direct.
It is a bookkeeping matter, and you're not allowed to direct the mayor. It's a separation of powers. But
And the reason for that is I got to be careful with the purse strings. They don't just let me write checks, folks. That's what the deal is.
I think we can get to where you want to be. You want to make sure that you retain the 25,000 legislative reserve for this year.
Correct.
Okay. The general fund is our general fund of the city. You could elect just to overrun that line item. Should you have other needs that you would use that 25 for, we could just overrun it by 12.5 is how I'd prefer to do it. It still makes it available.
And I guess my motion died, well, it did have a second, so we're all going to have to vote on it.
Well, either that or you can renege on it, you and the seconder as well, and say, I want to change the...
Withdraw your motion.
Yep, withdraw your motions, all you got to do.
All your
Is it
motions.
withdraw or renege?
No, you can withdraw, whatever, Walter. Sorry, folks.
Okay, I'll withdraw the motion if it's okay with the seconder.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. We're back to Gina's motion.
Okay, so we're back to Gina's motion, which is to approve the 12,500, and a second by Catherine. And we will do it, Gary, and we'll make it happen
sir.
out of the general fund. We'll start to roll John.
Aye.
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 Okay, and we will leave the 25,000 in the legislative end of it, folks.